There are no shortcuts to your health. It is a understanding of where you are today. And you may not know exactly what it looks like to where you want to be, but understanding that these are the steps that you want to take, and these steps will get you closer to what you want versus trying to take this shortcut of a pill or this shot or this surgery, because it doesn't fix. It gives you a quick fix, but it's not a long-term solution.
Hey there, welcome back to Above and Beyond, where excellence meets elevation. I'm your host, Jan Simon, and this season we're raising the bar, diving into the passion, purpose, and defining moments of leaders who don't just aim high, they live there. Big ideas, real stories. Let's get into it. Above and Beyond podcasters, I am excited to have you meet Terrance Johnson, a devoted husband and father of 7, whose life is a testament to perseverance, leadership, and athletic excellence. A proud alumni of Northern Arizona University and an alum of the esteemed Gilbert Leadership Program, Terrance brings both academic insight and community-driven passion to the table. As a business owner with 16 years under his belt, Terrance knows what it takes to build, grow, and sustain success. His coaching roots run deep. He's a former head coach of both high school track and field and cross country, guiding and inspiring young athletes to find their strength. As if that weren't enough, he's also achieved elite athletic distinction as a 2-time U.S. Olympic trials track qualifier. A dynamic blend of entrepreneur, coach, family man, and athlete, Terrance Johnson exemplifies the spirit of going above and beyond.
Oh, that was awesome.
Welcome.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Jan.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. You have always impressed me from the first day that I met you, I think probably 10, 12 years ago, I guess.
That sounds
maybe
about right.
About that. So let's dig in deep. Let's go back to young Terrance.
Okay.
Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Okay. Not far.
Not far, but, definitely far enough still.
Born and raised?
Born and raised.
Okay. And then through school, brothers and sisters?
I only have one older sister. She's got me by almost 7 years.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. Okay. Did you play sports? I mean, we know you ran track.
Deep down, I actually thought, and here's what's so funny about it, I actually thought I was going to be the next Michael Jordan. Every kid talks about it, but, I went out for basketball in high school my freshman year.
Okay.
Got cut, made it through the first cuts, didn't make it through the second cuts.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, okay, well, just keep persevering. I'm going to do it. And then my sophomore year, made the basketball team and, was on the JV team, playing on varsity with practicing, all those different things. Thought I was going to be that guy. And then, poof, all of a sudden it was, I'm okay at basketball, the position I wanted to play, because I'm barely over 6 feet. But in my mind, I was 6'10".
Yeah.
So as far as shooting threes, that wasn't me. I just wanted to be down there banging in the paint with all the big guys.
Getting the rebounds, yeah.
Yeah, and then, then come to find that I'm not getting any taller. But then all of a sudden just really started excelling in track and field.
Okay.
And my high school coach, Coach Simmons, so I've heard two conflicting stories. The recent one makes more sense now. I thought my high school coach was looking out for my interest for track or for basketball. So he came up to me. I was going to try out for basketball my junior year. He said, "Hey, Terrance, I heard you're pretty darn special on that track and field. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Don't go out for basketball this year. Take that time and focus it on track. And if it doesn't work out, I'll make sure when you come back your senior year, any of the minutes you didn't get, I'll make sure you get them." I was like, okay. And then my junior year launched off, became a 2-time state champion, and poof, and then from years like that, Olympic trials, all those different things, all those accolades. Well, my track coach, I still keep in contact with, and I was speaking with him earlier this year, and he said, "That's what you think happened?"
Oh, no.
He said, what I did was, he said, I went to your basketball coach and told him to tell you that, and that's what happened.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, all right. Well, kind of like diminishes how I sat there. I mean, I've told that story to people like, oh man, coaches can be super unselfish. I had this one coach, I've been telling this story for decades, and now it's just obliterated.
Awesome. That's awesome. Any thoughts of ever playing football or any fall sports?
Oh, I wanted to.
Okay.
Oh, I wanted to play football so bad.
You smaller at that point? Or?
You know what? I was 155 leaving high school, and I had decent speed, and I wanted to be a receiver, and I talked to the head coach, and the head coach was also the head coach for track and field as well. So the coach I was talking about was the assistant coach, and I really wanted to play football so bad that I told the coach, I said, look, you just got to come to my house, convince my parents. I know you can do it. You know, you've seen how fast I can be. I can help. Comes to the house, explains to my parents. I'll send him on streaks. I'll make sure he runs out. I'll make sure he doesn't get tackled. I won't put him on special teams, yada, yada, yada. And my parents, they thought about it. My dad said, you know what? If your mom says yes, I'll go for it. And then I go to my mom and try to sell her on it. She said, you know what? If your dad says yes,
oh no,
I'm in. And then my dad said, well, what'd your mom say? She said, well, if you said yes, he's like, it's going to be a hard no.
Oh, wow.
But if you can convince your mom, and I went back to her and she said, no, it's going to be a hard no.
Wow.
And so I never got to play. But I want to say it was 2010, either 2010 or 2009, before my dad passed. He died in 2014. But I went up to both my parents and I told them thank you. Because that's when a lot of the whole CTE thing came out, and they were just discovering all these different things. And I know my personality, and I know I would have been the person that would have got a concussion. I would have acted like I didn't, because I would have wanted to continue playing, and I could have been in that same situation. And so, yes, that's kind of what football was. I wanted to do it. My parents wouldn't go for it. And I did try it one more time in college, because the Cardinals always came up to Flagstaff, and I was done with track and field, but I still had a year of eligibility for football, and so I was out there running routes, going fast, things like that. Cardinals, they kind of saw me, said, hey, you know what, this kid could be something special, until I got hit. I took a hit, and
you're like, I'm out.
I'm done. That's it for me.
Yeah. That's awesome. Your school in Vegas, was it a pretty big high school?
Yeah, so, at the time, nothing went past 3A. So this was, early and mid-90s. So 3A was the biggest. I went to Chaparral High School, and we probably had 3,500 students. And, yeah, so it was a big school.
Yeah, it is a big school. I always ask that. Well, I ask that because, it kind of almost forces you to focus on specific sports, right? I mean, the smaller schools, you can kind of do a little bit of everything, be quasi good, and still make the team. The larger schools, you got to be real good. So
but it was actually pretty cool because and there's been a big shift between how it was and how it is, and I felt that back then there was a sharing of athletes. You could be, like I remember consistently, football players did track or baseball in the spring. Some of them did basketball, some of them did wrestling. There was multiple options. So there was like, if you were a really good athlete, you did multiple sports. And, like I did cross country, basketball, and then track. But I wasn't alone in that. There was other kids that were doing volleyball and football and baseball. And so even though, like you said, there was definitely a sport where you're like, okay, this is my main thing. This is my main focus, and I'm trying to get scholarships and things like that. But the secondary sports, you actually got to just do those sports fully and wasn't sitting there being like, oh, I'm going to miss out on spring ball, or I'm going to miss out on, whatever sport you were in.
Yeah. Did you do anything else extracurricular in high school, or not even necessarily extracurricular? Were you in band or choir or anything like that?
No, I was definitely not the band person.
Okay.
No, in all honesty, I was the first person that probably made fun of people in band.
Okay.
Keeping it real.
Yeah.
But I did a lot more of the outreach program. So I was a part of a program, I think it was called Las Vegas Leadership Youth. And then there was even a time when, I don't know if Arizona had it. Did you guys have DARE?
We had Dare, and I was actually just talking to, I'm trying to remember who I was just having, maybe it was Roxy. I'm trying to remember who we just talked about, but I was in a program called Natural Helpers, which was basically a leadership type program where your student body basically elected you into a group of leaders. So maybe it's a similar situation, just called different.
Yeah, so we had with the Las Vegas Metro Police Department, they created a program called DARE. And really what they were doing was trying to take kids that could have an influence on the school and put them in settings just to kind of talk about things that the youth could do to better assist law enforcement, to help keep the city safe and be aware of drugs and alcohol and, saying no and warning signs and things like that. So I was a part of that program. Okay. And then, like I said, I was a part of Leadership Las Vegas Youth, and that program was pretty cool. And I don't know if they have anything like that. Actually, I take that back. They do have something like that in Gilbert, where we didn't necessarily meet with business owners per se, but the thing that we got to do was we got a chance to see how the city worked from what was available. So I remember getting a chance to tour Nellis Air Force Base and get a chance to, because that's when the stealth bomber was being created and there was a lot of allure there. So we got a chance to do a part of that, a couple of the colleges, a casino, just, find out the inner workings of.
So almost like a Gilbert leadership.
Yes.
That we have now, but for youth, that is really cool.
So it was really cool. I don't know if they still have it going, but it was a really cool program. And, you had to be elected, and then, and they were basically taking 2 students from all the major high schools. Okay. And I think at that time there was maybe 16. There's probably way too many to count now, but yeah, it was a pretty cool program.
That's cool. It sounds really awesome. I mean, especially from a kid perspective, because I think now the more you can expose kids to different things that are out there, right? I've had conversations with my son who's now 25. He'll be 26 in September. But, when you talk about, let's say, military, right? People think military, they think, oh, you're going to be fighting on the front lines. It's like, there's as many jobs basically in the military as there is in civilian. It's just, different aspects of it. So to be able to take kids and put them into or walk them around a facility or a situation where they can look at it and say, oh, I had no idea, and open their eyes to really the actual, I don't know, implementation. That's not the right word, but, the actuality of it and walk them through it and say, this is something, open their eyes to it. So. Right.
And it was a really cool program, like I said, because, from a sports standpoint, you're used to competing against other people. So you start seeing familiar faces, but it's just in a competition realm. So it's not so much of a, oh, hey, I want to see you succeed. It's, dude, I want to see you lose.
Yeah, I'm going to beat you.
I need to beat you. Yep. But in that setting, it allowed me to just meet different people, their different backgrounds. So, I mean, we had just an array of different people that, at my school, I'd have never talked to any of these people. And so that setting, putting me in a situation where it's, okay, these are people I typically wouldn't find myself in any group setting unless it was like produced by the teacher or something like that. And it was cool. It just allowed me to just realize, there's a massive diversity of different people, different religions, different ethnicities, and a lot of us all have the same common goal, which is let's do something good with our life.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So in high school, was there an individual or multiple individuals that really had profound impact on your life that, I mean, because obviously, as kids, we're influenced by outside sources and our friends and everything else. Is there, whether it's a coach or a parent or something, that really kind of helped funnel you towards that? I mean, because that's pretty impactful.
So I would say not necessarily any students per se. I mean, I had some really close people, a couple best friends, things like that. My teachers were very impactful. As a matter of fact, one of them, she just celebrated her 75th birthday, and I went back out to Vegas to visit her. It was a surprise birthday party but it was my cross-country coach. And she was, I kind of went into it with a very man-oriented process with sports where it's, men are the coaches. There's no female coaches. If you're a female coach, you're dealing with females. You're not dealing with males. And she was my first female coach. And I remember, having a conversation with her, and she said, is it because I'm a woman you don't think I can coach you? I said, I'll be honest with you. I said, I just don't see you being able to make me a better athlete. And I said, and no disrespect. I respect you as a woman. I just, the things you're asking me to do, you've never done. And she said, I appreciate your honesty. She said, and let me tell you, she said, I'm a lot stronger than you think, and I will make you whatever it is you want to be. And one of those things I'm going to make you is into a man. I said, okay. Miss Allen was so just different. My parents never corrected me on my grammar. So I could say yeah and nah and nope, things like that, no consequences. With her, you say yeah, push-ups or jumping jacks.
Oh, wow.
Anything that was said with wrong grammar got you a consequence. And, at first, I don't think much of it. As the cross-country season's going on, I'm kind of getting tired of doing push-ups and jumping jacks. But I'm starting to understand. She's saying, just because you say it doesn't mean it's right. She said, and laziness is not an excuse and a pass for showing intelligence. And she would beat that into my soul for 3 years. By the time I was a senior, grammar was on point, y'all. It was
That's awesome.
Very on point, to the point that she's one of the reasons why I'm able to speak very strongly and confidently and not sit here and go back and forth with, did I say that correctly? Did I, I may not be the best understander with nouns and pronouns and verbs and adjectives, but I can speak clearly because she just set a precedent in that. And then outside of that, I had a few other teachers that were pretty instrumental just in terms of showing passion and respect. But for me, I was very fortunate. I got the majority of everything I needed and wanted to know about how to be a better person from my parents. My parents were, they opened arms to everybody.
That's awesome.
My dad was a teacher.
Okay.
My mom was an admin for one of the big phone companies back in Vegas. And they just, literally, it was sun up to sundown. My dad was the same person. He coached sports. He was very passionate in everything he did. He said, don't do things halfway, work hard. Don't be lazy. Don't use that as an excuse. Be passionate in what you do, whatever you do, give it your best. Always give it your best. Don't second guess, doing the right thing. And I did some knucklehead stupid stuff, and my parents knew it, but they always had the way to educate me, which I'll give you a funny story. My dad was a science teacher.
Okay.
And back in school, you did a lot of those classes on sex ed. They'd sign the slip. Yeah, my kid could participate in watching the sex ed videos, all these different things. When it came time to have stronger discussions about that, my dad didn't go, well, birds and bees and things like that. No. My dad said, here we go. Pulled out this book, all the diseases.
Oh, no.
All these sexually transmitted diseases. Shows me pictures, the treatment.
Oh, my God.
The application.
I will never touch that.
And he showed me the applications of what would happen.
Oh.
And so he went that route, and that stuck with me. Stuck with me. He gave me the breakdown he gave me the break, and I still remember the percentages. This was when I was probably like 12. I still remember the percentages on condoms. He said, "Okay, here it is. You get a condom." He said, "You buy it in the store." He said, "Okay." He said, "Have you seen one before?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Where have you seen it?" I said, "Well, somebody's wallet." He's like, "Great example." He said, let's just say it's been in that wallet, let's just say only a week. He said, it's probably longer than that, but let's say it's been in there a week. He said, so it's just been rubbing in that wallet, getting in and out, in and out. He said, as you see on the condom package, it says 99.9%. He said, well, it's now 89% because it's been in that wallet for a week.
Oh, yeah.
So we've lost 10%. He said, now I know you feel like odds are still pretty good. He said, because that's a B plus. He said, now, let's just assume they open it correctly. I was like, okay, yep, it's open correctly. He said, what are the odds that they wash their hands before touching it? I said, it's probably not good, Dad. He's okay. He said, so now we've lost another 10%. He said, we're down now to 79%. He said, now let's just go with the strong assumption that they don't use it very often because it's been in their wallet a week, probably more a month. Mm-hmm. He said, so they go to put it on. They put it on backwards. So now they retouch it again. He said, now we're down to 69%. He said, and then he said, so now he's going to do a few little fumbles. He said, by the time it's all said and done and before you even inserted anything, he said, you're down to 59%.
Oh, my God.
He said, now it's 1 out of 2. He said, you have a 1 out of 2 chances of pregnancy. He's like, do you like those odds? I was like, I don't like those odds. He's like, okay, sounds good. So that was my conversation with my dad about sex. We didn't go the route of, he went the diseases and the contraceptive route. And I was like, okay.
That's funny.
So that lesson stuck with me for a very long time. And
it worked.
And it worked.
I would say we probably need a little bit more education through fear these days.
I think it
consequence,
makes sense.
So that's awesome. That's awesome. After high school, you went to NAU.
Yes.
What made you decide to go to NAU?
Oh, that's an even easier story. I knew I wanted to go to college and compete in track and field. I wanted to get a gold medal. That was my primary focus. And I had some choices. Georgetown was a university that was interested in me, but it was too far. I wanted an ability for my parents to be able to see me compete.
Okay.
And then Washington State was another school, but truth be told, they basically tried to screw me over on what they wanted to offer me. And I said, I know what I'm worth.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take that offer. And then Purdue was another university, which they actually weren't even coming to see me. They were coming to see another kid at a different high school. And that coach told them that they should pay me a visit.
Oh, wow.
So he came into my house, sat in my house, said, hey, just, I'm in the area. Would love to sit down and meet you. I was recommended to you by a rival coach, said that, we should come check you out while we're here. And he sits down, gives me a spiel about how awesome Purdue is, this, and that. I'm like, okay, just let's get to the offer.
This episode of Above and Beyond is brought to you by the amazing sponsors who help bring this show to life. A heartfelt thank you to Above Par Network, elevating connections and creating impact. Foundation Insurance Services, protecting what matters most with confidence and care. Meritum Credit Card Processing, empowering businesses through expert consulting and unwavering support. And Rocks Ink Calligraphy, bringing beauty and personal flair to every handwritten detail. We're proud to partner with these outstanding businesses who share our passion for excellence. For more about our sponsors and exclusive podcast content, visit abovebeyondpodcast.com.
I understand Purdue. I know where it is. It's further than I'd like to go, but it is an awesome university. And he said, we don't have anything to offer you. You'd be a preferred walk-on. I was like, I know what I'm worth, so I'm not going to take that. And I was like, okay. And then he sees me compete in this meet the next day, and I just destroyed the field. Then he calls my house, says, hey, you know what? We just found that we have this scholarship. And I was like,
of course,
I can't go there. Yeah. Northern Arizona, and I know some youth are more interested in the bigger name schools. Northern Arizona did it right by me. They, and this probably doesn't happen anymore these days now, but they wrote me letters. They sent me newspaper clippings showing me what was going on with the track team. And the graduate assistant coach, Jim Cena, pretty sure it was Jim Cena, he would literally tell me, hey, man, if we could have had you on this relay, it would have been, man, we could have finished here, this. So he helped me kind of get a visual of, oh, I matter. And then they were transparent. That was probably the best thing about it, Jan, was they were honest. They explained to me, we only get so many scholarships to offer to field sprints hurdles, jumps, throws, and distance. We only get so many. So we try to get enough, and we try to spread it around to create a winning environment. That way the student prospers, because now the student can have less money on them.
Yeah.
They can graduate with a degree, and you can have an amazing experience and go compete and still continue doing what you love. And so, their offer wasn't the biggest. They offered me my tuition and my dorm. And the only thing that I was going to be responsible for was my books and my meal plan. So basically, an 80% scholarship. And I said, I'm in. And I signed. I made sure my parents were okay with that. They said, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, so decided on NAU just because they were honest and made me feel valued.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What would you say up until your freshman year of college was your best memory of childhood?
Gosh, best childhood memory. Here's probably my best one. And probably a little dark, but it still is my best one. I can't remember which wrist. Oh, it's this one. It's my left wrist. So I have this scar on my left wrist. And so my dad gave me his 1986 Chevy S10 manual.
Okay.
So I got this vehicle my junior high school, loved this vehicle. And during my senior year of high school, the clutch started to go out. And my dad said, okay. My dad was pretty good with mechanical stuff. He said, we can replace it. I said, okay. And so we get the truck lifted up in the front, do everything to drop it down underneath the bottom. And then all of a sudden it started to slip, and he hadn't put the clutch plate back on yet. And I just remember instinctively just grabbing it, and the metal, where the hole opening was my arm was pressed right up against it, and I could feel it just bleeding. And my dad just saying, are you all right? Are you good? Everything okay? I'm like, I'm good, Dad. I'm good. And he's like, all right, I'm trying to go as fast as I can, because he saw the one thing drop. So he's thinking I'm just holding this thing, and that's my only strain.
Yeah.
And then he gets it on, and then he looks at my sleeve. What's going on? I was like, that's just a cut, Dad. He lifts it open. I got a really, really good gash.
Oh, my gosh.
And he's like, why didn't you let go? I said, because I know how much you spent on this part, and I knew we couldn't afford to just let it break.
Yeah.
And, and it was just one of those moments for me where I didn't really think about it. I just reacted. And in that moment, my dad could have, I think my dad could have went a multitude of ways, but then he just sat there and told me, he said, nothing I own will ever be worth more than you. So in the future, just let it go.
Let it go. Yeah.
Just let it go. And then the funny part about it was the way they stamped it at the auto parts store, they stamped it on the wrong side.
Oh, really?
So it didn't work.
Oh, no.
And so
you got cut for nothing.
So I got cut for nothing, and we couldn't get it to work.
Oh, my gosh.
So then my dad went and got me a different truck, and he was like, we did everything right. We took it back down. He's looking. He's like, wait a minute. And then realized, stamped wrong. So to me, that was one of my favorite childhood memories is, I got this scar, but I learned, it didn't sink in then.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I got much older that it sunk in and was like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, possessions, they don't matter.
Yeah.
They're replaceable.
Yeah.
Always replaceable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you're in college.
Yep.
You're still running.
I'm running.
And you're a sprinter, not distance?
No. Hated distance. Okay. I did it, not begrudgingly, but I didn't like it.
I was going to ask you a stupid question.
No, ask.
I was going to say, why is it that in track and field, the guys that want to throw shot put, discus, whatever, why is it the coaches make them run?
And the funny thing about that is it's because they're just trying to establish dominance. There really is no rhyme or reason to make a thrower run, because at no point in time is it that applicable. Now, to make them do drills, sure.
Right.
Drills, not a problem. But there's no point in trying to get your shot putter, discus, hammer thrower to run repeat 400s. There's no benefit.
Yeah. I asked that because when I was a freshman in high school, I was in track and field, and I just wanted to throw the javelin and do the high jump. I was pretty good at it, and they made me run, and that's why I quit. I'm like, I hate running. I don't want to run.
If you could have got to do it at college, you would have appreciated that because throwers didn't run. Javelin people didn't run.
I had to run in wrestling, and I was done running by the time I got to fall sport or spring sports. So.
Right. Yeah, for wrestling, that makes sense because you guys are trying to cut weight.
Yep. Cut weight and get cardiovascular. I mean, you've got to be, you got, what is it, 6 minutes to
pin somebody?
Yeah. So
what is because I don't remember, if you don't pin them, what's the point differential? Can you win by getting to a max points?
Well, if you get 15 points before they get any points, or if you can, basically it's 15 points. At least when I was wrestling, I think it's still the same. But so if you get 15, then it's done.
Okay.
If you get so many near falls, which is a fall is a pin, so you get so many near falls, then basically is over as well. So yeah, I mean, but it's always you're trying to pin them, and you got a couple minutes, and then you got 30 seconds, then a couple minutes, and 30 seconds,
Because the takedown is that 3 points?
A takedown is 2.
2 points?
Yep. Escape is 1. Near fall is 3. So near falls, you get them on their back, but they're not pinned.
Gotcha.
So it's 3. Reverse is 2. So if I'm on top of you and you reverse to get on top of me, that's 2 points. Okay. So yeah. So if you get up to 15, it's funny. I mean, my senior year of high school, I remember I was talking to about it, but I think I was like 17-0.
That's impressive.
Or more. I don't remember. But we were talking about MMA, and at that point, Ken Shamrock was just coming on the scene.
Yeah.
And MMA wasn't really a thing yet, but it was, that was starting, and my wrestling coach was really big into Ken Shamrock, so we'd watch some of the different cage fights and stuff that they had.
He's a beast.
Oh, he's crazy beast, yeah. And I was wrestling this kid from Clarkston, Washington, and he got me on my back, and I don't even remember how he got me on my back, but I mean, just that wasn't me, right? I mean, I just never was there in my senior year, and he got me on my back, and his head just happened to be right in the right spot, and I just bloodied his nose, big old swing, got disqualified. So my first loss was technically a disqualification for punching a guy. And it's, get competitive. You just don't think
but that seems like an impressive record you have. You didn't want to go college? You didn't want to go?
I actually did wrestle in college.
Okay.
Yeah. So I ended up 6th at state my senior year of high school. I wrestled up 2 weight classes. So I weighed 163, wrestled up to 178.
Is that heavyweight?
Not heavyweight. So 178, 190, and then heavyweight. So I was right below heavyweight. But there were 3 of us that went to high school together, 148, 158, and then 178. Okay. 178. And so I ended up wrestling up just because I was stronger. I was a really strong leg rider. I mean, you've seen me in the gym.
Yeah, absolutely.
My legs
kill it with the legs.
So I was never really strong upper body. My forearms were strong, but my upper body was never super strong, but my legs. And so I would take people down, get on them, and leg ride them, and turn them over, and pin them. And so, so my senior year, I ended up wrestling a kid. My first round at state was a kid from Tahoma High School, which is south of Olympia, I think, in Washington, and a little fire plug of a guy. I mean, he was probably a foot shorter than me, but his legs were
massive
tree stumps, and I couldn't move him. I mean, literally, I could not move him. He was a true 178-pounder. Ended up losing to him by points, and then came back and ended up winning my next couple matches and ended up getting sixth place. But so then I went on to college, wrestled in college, and that was a whole different beast. I mean, as you know, college sports is
it's next level. But you're part of that percentage that was able to continue doing that. That speaks to the volume of who you are. That's incredible.
I loved it. Hey, and probably my worst part was I thought I had discipline, but when I got to college, I realized how little discipline I actually had, because I was like, out underneath mom and dad's thumb or dad's thumb.
I can understand that. I can understand that statement very well too.
So anyways, so you went to college. You're running at NAU.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
And it's funny that you just got through talking about discipline. I had an 8 a.m. class. I thought I had to be at school at 7 in the morning. 8 a.m. classes.
No big deal, right?
I struggled. I got my butt handed to me my first year of college. Because like you mentioned with college sports, you have study hall. And I was at study hall. My first year, I struggled academically because there was so much socialization to do.
Yep.
Because I had a roommate. Roommate was a little awkward, but I had a roommate. I was dating someone at the dorm across from me, and there was football. There was basketball games to go to. I mean, there was always something social to do.
Yep.
Every day of the week.
Yeah.
Every day of the week. I didn't miss practices and things like that, but it was hard for me to, because it was like, hey, they're like, you have to be done with your classes and have practice at 2:00. And practice was from 2 to 6 or 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So we'd have the track, the weight room. After the weight room, you got to go see the trainer. At the trainer, go get your food, grab your food, go straight to study hall. And then I remember being in study hall just
falling asleep,
and then getting in trouble for that, and then my coach finding out, and then my coach saying, okay, now you have to do study hall. You have to sit here in the room with me, and getting in trouble, and him getting pissed at me for that. And I'm like, I'm struggling here.
Yeah.
So that first year was, that rocked my world.
It's brutal.
And like I said, and I left high school at $155 and didn't realize how much cross-country running had kept me at a smaller weight. So my first year, my parents came up to visit, and they were like, "What's all this size on you?" I went from 155 to 180.
Wow, that's impressive. I went the other way.
Okay.
I was 163 dripping wet out of high school, and I wrestled at 148 in college.
Okay.
So I went down, and I was 3% body fat. So it was like skinny, Ethiopian looking dude. It was like,
yeah, but Yeah. So that was, and that was freshman year, and and I learned a lot that freshman year. Rolled in the sophomore year. It's okay. Got a different roommate. Was like, okay. Was in a dorm that had more athletes to it. I'm like, okay. I even picked a dorm that was closer to my college because I was, education major with an emphasis on history.
Oh, okay.
So my dorm was, when I say right next to the history building, like literally, it only would take me 2 minutes. Maybe exaggeration because I forgot I was on the 3rd floor. So to walk from the 3rd floor down to the 1st floor, go across the mezzanine, 6-minute walk to my classes. I still missed a whole slew of classes.
Really?
Still.
That's crazy. I used to have nightmares in college, and I've got a question for you about training and stuff, but I used to have nightmares of forgetting where my classes were, like walking halfway, because where I went to school was a pretty good sized campus, not huge, but pretty decent size.
Right.
And you have one class on this side of campus and the other class on the other side, and then you got to get back to the other side, and you're just like back and forth. I used to have nightmares of getting in the middle of campus and forgetting which direction next, like, where do I need to go? Or forgetting that I actually even had a class, at the end of the quarter going, oh my God, I forgot I had that class. But did you ever miss, and I'm asking you this because it's a stupid story, but did you ever miss the bus to head to a meet or anything like that?
You know what? Almost. I almost did because I slept through. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what year that was. I know I slept through my alarm, and there was one other guy in my dorm that was on the track team, Daryl. He was a hurdler. So luckily, Daryl went out to his car, saw that my car was still there with the snow on it, ran back up there, just started pounding on my door. My roommate woke up. It's like, oh, grab me, and they grabbed me, and then I had to speed out there. Got the hugest Lexer. Coach was, he's pretty pissed. I took the blame for Daryl being late because I'm like, no, Daryl came to get back me. That was on me.
Yeah.
But he was Yeah, so I almost missed the bus on that one. And then other than that one, I think there was one other time I did miss the bus another time and had to drive from Flagstaff to Phoenix.
Oh, wow.
Because the meet was in Phoenix.
Okay.
And so I had to drive myself.
Yeah, I had one tournament, which we were going to northern Idaho, I think is where we were headed. Had to be at the bus at 5 o'clock in the morning. I think I woke up at 7. I roll over, look at of course I grab my bag. I'm like running, like the bus is still going to be there.
Right.
I ended up missing that tournament. It was bad. I got in some pretty bad trouble, but that was pretty bad. And we used to have to we had 3 a day. So we were pretty much all season morning was cardio.
Okay.
Midday was weights. And then we do mat stuff, drills in the afternoon or evening. But it was brutal. I mean, I totally understand. I mean, you've got to fit your classes around it. You're getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go do cardio.
Right.
And then you've got class at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. And then you've got, maybe an hour or two break, grab lunch, let that settle. Right. Yep. You got to get back in to do weights. And yeah, it was pretty crazy. We had a kid, I think he was a couple classes ahead of me, weight classes ahead of me. And we had a really heavy chest workout one day. And we ended up going to Portland State, I think maybe that weekend. And we all show up to get on the bus. And something happened. His chest, his pecs, like exploded. Like they were huge. He ended up wearing a t-shirt under a singlet because his chest was like a double D. And I don't know what happened. Whatever we did with that chest workout just made his chest just go and explode.
Got it. Hey, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
We're talking about the different things there. So now all these college athletes have NIL opportunities. What's your take on that? What that might have looked like when you were in college?
God, that's such a deep question. I don't like it at all. And I'm all for kids being able to have opportunity and being able to have, let's say, college paid for, right? Where I have really big problems is the marketing aspect of things with regards to the school hopping. And one of my biggest issues with professional sports, any of them, is you don't have continuity, whatever. I can't think of the word. Right. From year to year, you could have a Super Bowl team this year, and next year somebody's going to come in and snipe your guard and snipe your end and snipe a couple receivers, and pretty soon it's blown apart and now you're rebuilding. It's very rare that you get a team where you've got longevity or a core group that's longevity, and obviously a lot of that has to do with salaries and things like that, contracts. But I think NIL, the same thing. I think there's got to be a place to find a balance in it all. But being able to enter these transfer portals because the schools can offer them a ton of money, I just don't that thought. I think it's pretty cool if you can get somebody. I don't remember the little gal's name that was LSU gymnast who became pretty popular. I think she's done now, but and she became pretty popular on I think Instagram or something. She became an influencer and things like that. So if you get somebody like that that's got a pretty decent following and you have a brand that wants to back them, I don't think that that's a bad deal. I think that it could be pretty decent. Like I think about, in wrestling, there's not a lot of stuff, but you think, there's been some kids that have gone through ASU recently that could really, it could help out. Right. And school has gotten so expensive. And like you said, I mean, if you're in a smaller school or if you're in a sport that's not a moneymaker, if you're not in football, then how do we pay for these things? And if you're looking at $20,000, $30,000 a year, to go to school, there should be ways to make it. But I don't like the thought of the school being able to incentivize jumping into the portal and, making more money over here or, whatever it is. I really struggle with it because I don't think the kids are mature enough to understand it. Even when you get into professional, I don't think, you're not mature enough to, land a multi-million-dollar contract. And I know that a lot of the professional sports have people that actually will work with you, but I mean, still, it's,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, I've thought about it, and a couple of things that I told people was I said, you know, I went to NAU all 4 years, and there was an opportunity to have left because after my freshman year, that was my second sprint coach left, and you know, and I thought about it, but my mom was very good on she said, hey, look, coaches change, things like that. The school made an investment in you.
yeah.
Regardless of how you see it, they made an investment in you.
Yeah.
And you need to see that through. Just because some changed, you need to see that through.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so my mom didn't let me leave. But I think about the whole NIL, right? So there were kids on the track team. Everybody knew who was getting what scholarship-wise. It was no secret to be like, okay, that one's getting a full ride. Like, I was one of the kids getting a full ride. There were only a few kids that were getting a full ride.
Yeah.
So I think of that and go, now imagine, you know, one of us is the one getting the full ride, and you know that kid is the one that's getting $100,000 in NIL money, and you're getting $3,000.
Right.
I don't think people can say it, but I think it would be really hard to just to act like you don't have, whether it be some jealousy, some envy. I think it would be really hard because all of a sudden it's, wait a minute, I understand I'm not as talented as that individual, but I also understand that that individual is training with me.
Right.
And I know that I'm helping that individual get better.
Right. Well, or let's say you are better than that individual. Let's say that individual just happens to have whatever it is behind them that can help promote them to a position that now they can get some limelight.
Right.
And now because of the name and limelight, somebody in the school says, oh, we can use this as marketing. Or somebody in the community says, we can use this as marketing. We can use this as draft fodder or whatever it is. You know, so now you as a good athlete or a great athlete are being kind of held down because you don't have whatever it is to lift you up. And that person has that marketing acumen or whatever it is. I mean, I think about some of the stuff where you look at individuals that people would look at and think, boy, they should have probably never gone as far as they did, but they've been able to tap into, we'll call it a popularity aspect of it. Right? Because there is that aspect of it, right? There is the brand recognition that will take you, you know, Bronny James.
That's a prime example.
Right. He is not a good basketball player, in my opinion.
He's very average.
He's an average basketball player. But because of his dad, he's getting opportunities that somebody that's probably better than him,
like Koa Pete,
that would not get. And I've been in that position, you know, where I know I've worked harder, I've put in the reps, I've been in a better position, I've been a better player, I've been a better teammate, but because of, you know, whatever the politics are at the moment, not gotten those reps. And so that's where I look at that and I think that's the problem I have, because, and the animosity piece of it, let's say I'm playing at an NAU, right? Because I couldn't get into a bigger school.
Right, like an ASU or something.
Right. And now all of a sudden, you know, in your situation, you're running sprints and you run a, you know, sub 7 minute, whatever that is. And now all of a sudden you've got big schools coming out and going, okay, let's shell out money. And now you've got kids that were at one school working really hard trying to get that. And the school's going out and cherry picking, you know, from other places.
And then the other part that I think about it too, that, you know, I made some really awesome friendships with kids that were there the entire duration I was there. And I know that's one of the reasons why we won the conference titles we won. I know that's one of the reasons why I'm still in touch with some of these same individuals. I know that's one of the reasons why, you know, the reputation has been built up for the school as well, too. And I think, you know, I got faster and I got better, and a lot of that had to do with the people I was around. So if I was constantly either hopping around or they were hopping around, and now it's, well, I got to build that camaraderie with that person, and well, maybe, I don't vibe with this person as well as I did with that person. And that person pushed me better, and we pushed each other, and we realized the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And we didn't look at this narrow window.
Yeah.
And I think of those things and go, one of the reasons that also helped me qualify was because I was around, a team of people that were committed to the overall cause, which was to win and to win together.
Yeah.
And I feel like with the NIL, it makes it a lot harder to accomplish that if, like you said, all of a sudden, you have this, you've been doing good, and then you have this breakout year, and now this bigger name university says, hey, I know you're getting $5,000 there. We can give you 50.
Right.
And you go, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it would be hard for any kid to sit there and go, no, I'm going to stay here because, they've treated me good and, blah, blah, blah. It's, that's money that you didn't have, and you may never get your hands on that again.
Oh, right. I mean, you think about the number of people not only make it from high school to college sports,
right,
but then make it past college sports, whether it's, Olympics or some type of, larger aspect of it, or going on to professional sports. Right. It becomes so much smaller and smaller and smaller. So you have to take those opportunities when you can. So yeah, if you're getting a partial ride scholarship for whatever, I mean, okay, we're going to pay for your uniforms and we're going to pay for, your meal plan or whatever it is. Now all of a sudden somebody comes and goes, hey, you know what? We're going to take care of all of it. And we're going to throw, living expenses of a couple $1,000 a month at you.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones. So I think when, all those changes happened for me, after my freshman year, and I had a really amazing freshman year. And all of a sudden, one of these bigger name schools, ASU is bigger than NAU.
Oh, yeah.
And it would have been one of those things where it's, well, it's my first year, and, hey, if you guys could do this, I'd love to stay, but it's, I want to be a professional athlete.
Yeah.
And ASU is a bigger conference, and they're offering me $100,000.
Yeah.
I'm 19.
Yeah.
Why am I going to say no to that?
Yeah, and you've got more doctors on staff.
Yep.
You've got more rehabilitation stuff. You've got state-of-the-art, whatever it is.
Everything's an upgrade.
You think about, and we haven't gone down this road, but as far as, your Olympic trials and having, we'll talk about that. But the technology that's there today, that probably could have gotten you back to where you needed to be. So, no, I mean, it's such a hard conversation because I can understand it from both sides.
Oh, 100%.
But I feel like we've gone so far to even where we've got young children that are in peewee sports that really all they should be there for is to learn how to lose and how to win with grace and respect, right? They should understand sportsmanship. They should understand, hey, yeah, we're here to play a game and we're here to win. But if we lose, let's learn from it and let's pick it up and go. And now we're at this point where it's these kids are getting, every piece of gear that you could ever imagine, and they're showing up with the bling and the this and that. And it's, dude, learn to field a ball, learn to run, learn to sprint correctly, learn to whatever it is, And
then you got the parents that, like you just mentioned, losing. You build character with losses.
Absolutely.
And now it's become that's our second loss. We got to leave clubs. We got to switch clubs. We got to go to a different team. You don't know what you're doing. This and that. Well, hold on a second now. We're trying to build. There are these things that your kid isn't capable of doing at this time. So now there's my girls play basketball, and I've seen it, where, now there's kids that my girls have played against. But yeah, they were on teams that were winning more, but they're not getting better.
Yeah.
But they're winning.
Yeah.
But they're not getting better. And I'm like, that catches up with you. So now all of a sudden it's like, hey, it's been 3 years, and it's like, you haven't developed. You haven't gotten better, and
right.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. It goes back to the old adage of, would you rather have sheer talent, God-given talent, or somebody who's got work ethic?
Oh, work ethic, 1,000%.
Absolutely.
Take that all day.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously we love to have the talent, but if I have somebody with the work ethic, that's going to trump the talent all the time.
And then there's that part. I feel like I've had that conversation with somebody once where I said, there's a part where, you can't take a kid who, the fastest they're ever going to run is a 5.8 40, but they've got the work ethic to be a running back. Well, you're probably not going to be able to use them at a running back at a high level. You're going to need some people with some talent, but it doesn't mean you can't take that kid with that work ethic that wants to be a running back and say, hey, let's put him over on this side of the ball, because now we got somebody who has his same work ethic and a little more talent.
Right. And the mentality of smash mouth.
Yes.
Yes. You take a good running back that's not fast, they make probably a pretty decent interior lineman or linebacker or something like that. So here at NAU, you want to be an Olympic athlete. Let's kind of talk about that a little bit, because I know that there was some trials and tribulations that happened in that. So let's talk about that.
It was my first trial. Like I told you, I had an amazing freshman year. I left high school having, been a 5-time state champion. I got to carry during 1996, I got to carry the Olympic torch when it came through Vegas. Okay. So I'm leaving, as they'd say now, you're leaving with clout. So I'm leaving with some really big accolades, and then I come in my freshman year. I have a tremendous freshman year. I finished second place in the Big Sky Conference, indoor and outdoor. And so they're like, okay, dude, this kid's a freshman, and he's that guy. And so my sophomore year, I first time I have any real adversity, we're in Utah, and Frankie Fredericks, who had won multiple silver medals in the Olympics, my coach put me in the 100-meter dash. He wanted to just kind of like help me start working on turnover speed, things like that. And so I see Frankie Fredericks. I know who he is. I know this guy runs a 9.8 100. I never ran the 100. My coach didn't. I ran it my freshman year in high school, and that was it. That's all I had done. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm here to compete. It don't silver medal or nothing. Like you can take this second just like I can.
Yeah.
And so I got second. I think he ran like a 9.9 that day. I ran a 10.3. Fastest 100 I ever ran. However, I strained my hamstring. And there was a part of the race where I should have stopped. My brain was not allowing that. And so I made it a hell of a lot worse by just finishing instead of just stopping. And then that kind of set me back a little bit the rest of the sophomore year. And then junior year, I'm off to a great start. Indoor season, I'm Big Sky champion. And this is the second time, because, I qualified for nationals. So this is the second time now. I've got a really great chance. Strain my hamstring, same hamstring. And now it's my senior year. I've been training like a beast. That's that picture I got up at the gym. I am training like just full commitment. I am fully committed. It's 2000. It's an Olympic year. I'm off to a really great start. Win conference, qualify for nationals, so with the Olympic trials, and this is what people, when they hear you qualify for Olympic trials, they think, no. There is an A standard, which is an automatic qualifier, and there's a B standard. So both times I qualified in the Olympic trials, I qualified for the B standard.
Okay.
So they take the top 24, submit their mark, and accept their mark. So you can have, 26 people hit the A mark, and you can have 20 that hit the B mark, but if only 7 accepted in the A, they slide right into the B mark.
Oh, gotcha.
So I qualified off of the B mark for the 400, and then I strained my hamstring again. So now this is the third year in a row I've done it.
Wow.
I treat it, strain it again. And so I'm like, okay, getting flustered, start getting in my head. You start, as an athlete, you start getting all psychological. Okay, well, it's the way I'm sleeping. It's, hold on, I didn't have on the right socks. If I'd have had on these socks. And, oh, wait, I didn't have on the right chain. And hold on. I have to sit in this seat. Because when I sit in, just start getting, and just not recognizing like something's just not right. It's not your dress and your attire, there's something physically going on with your body, and that's why you keep having the same problem. And, to the point where I'm seeing this specialist, I remember there was these stupid pins, and this was like the newest thing that was happening with, trying to create electrostatic throughout the body. So this specialist comes in. He's got these pins, and it's just click, 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 going up and down my hamstring. Click, click, click. It's like, how it feel? I'm like, oh, I can hear it. He's like, click, 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 click. It does it a few different times. Go out there and run a little bit. Click, click, click. Oh man, I'm feeling better. Okay, yeah, okay, we're getting better. No, it's not working. I'm just telling myself it's feeling better, and then then I jack up my ankle. And this is, mind you, this is 2 months before trials. And I jacked up my ankle just being a stupid 22-year-old. And I'll share this story because it absolutely is just the dumbest thing. But that's why when we were talking about, a kid getting $1 million deal and you're 22, you don't know anything.
Yeah.
Unless your parents are like that person, like LeBron James' mom, unless your parent is that parent that's all on your stuff, you don't know anything.
Yep.
And so we're running around campus. It's a hot day in Flagstaff. I'm feeling good. The hamstring's better. We got big meets coming up. I'm feeling good. Conferences around the corner. I'm supposed to win the 4, the 2. Feeling great. And we're running around campus playing Super Soakers, and I'm running. And somehow I run off the curb, and my legs just cycle too fast, and then, boom, I just land downward on my ankle, and then everybody goes, oh, gosh, we're all going to get in trouble. And I'm like, it's my fault. I go to my head coach. He's like, you've got to be the dumbest son of a,
Yeah.
And he was like, what were you thinking? You qualified. Nike's been talking to you. And at that point, I pretty much dropped out of school. I was like, you know what? Nope. I didn't go to classes. I just focused on straight treatment. I was going to the trainer. I was at the trainer room probably about 4 or 6 hours a day.
Wow.
5 days a week. I was committed because I was like, I'm going. I was committed. And I tried to give it a shot. Mind you, they said I had a pretty high grade strain that I shouldn't be doing anything on it. It was going to be like 3 months. I was like, the hell with that. Conferences in 6 weeks. I'm going to be good enough for conference. I'm going to kill it at conference, and then I'm going to go to trials. Well, I get to conference. My ankle is so swollen, I can't even get into my track spike.
No. Oh, my gosh.
So, and at that time, there was no, they couldn't give you any Percocet, things like that. That was one of those things that just, you weren't getting that. But there was no limit on ibuprofen. So I'd shove in 1,000. I'd take 1,000 milligrams of ibuprofen, and then I'd take another 1,000 in 2 hours. I'd cycle on it for 2 hours. And so we, like a teammate helped me shove my foot in this spike. And then we took the tape, kind of like football, and they taped it all in. That way it just stayed on.
Yeah.
And the most painful thing I had done, I didn't win. So, in case everybody's like, oh, here's that silver lining. No silver lining. I went from the person who was supposed to get first in the 400. I got third. I was supposed to get first in the 200. I qualified for the finals. I got dead last. I got 8th.
Wow.
And so I gutted hard to do what I did, but I got 8th. Went to the relay. My parents are begging me to stop. Coach is like sitting there telling me, I was like, dude, this is my senior year. It's obviously apparent that I'm not going to trials on this. You just let me finish.
Yeah.
It's my senior. Just let me finish. And now that's the silver lining where I gutted it out, ran a hell of a time, ran a hell of a split. But then, we got third on the relay. So, so I left with, 1 medal. And we won conference as a team, which was awesome too, but that was it.
Yeah.
I watched trials on TV like everybody else, and then I got very depressed.
Yeah.
Very depressed.
What'd you end up doing after that?
So after that, I because like I said, I had pretty much stopped taking classes. So the grades I had, I pretty much screwed them all up. I think I got like a bunch of C's, barely. And so I kind of messed myself up. So, so I still had some schooling to take. So that's where I would tell somebody the loyalty was awesome. So NAU still took care of me. And I want to say I think I took off. I didn't go to school in the fall, and I didn't go to school in the spring. I just hung out in Flagstaff and just worked. And that's why I said, but the university was awesome to me. They said, hey, got a scholarship for you. Want you to finish.
Nice.
And, and they said it was part of one of their programs or whatever. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But, so the next year, took all the classes, busted my butt, and then walked May of 2002. And then after that, kind of was like, you know what? It's been a year and a half. I did a year of feeling sorry for myself. I feel still like I can do it. So then I moved to Vegas, started teaching, and then started getting back into training, trained hard, and then went to Europe and ran overseas for 6 months. Got in really great shape, qualified. Now, this is the second time. So now I've qualified for a different event. The first time I qualified the 400-meter dash. This time now I've hit the B standard for the 400-meter hurdles.
Oh, wow.
But now it comes time for trials. Well, I overtrained. I overtrained to a point where I'm at practice, about to do my running, and I could not go fast. I literally, I was supposed to be, like the way my coach wrote that workout, I was supposed to be running repeat 21-second 200s. I couldn't go faster than 26. I was like, okay, well, maybe I just feel terrible. I don't know, maybe it's a bad day. So I scrapped the workout, go to bed, rest, go out the next day to do the workout. Same thing. I'm so off my time. Go see a specialist, kind of find out, which, again, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of find out, overtraining is a real thing. And I overtrained to such a point that my estrogen levels were so high that the only way to reverse it was to give me a testosterone shot.
Wow.
And if I take the shot, I'm going to test positive.
Yep.
So I had two choices. It was take the shot and take my chances, or shut it down and that'd be that. So I shut it down because they basically said, hey, it's either take this shot, see if it, your system regulates enough to where, okay, you don't test positive. And I didn't want to take those chances.
Yeah.
They're like, or shut it down for 3 months. So shut it down and then try to pick it back up one last time. And I was just, I was done.
That's tough. I mean, I can't imagine, obviously, all of the hard work and the disappointment that you've got to feel. You seem to me like a very upbeat and positive person. So how did you find that again? Because I would think now you've been through Olympic trials or potential Olympic trials twice.
Yep.
Not able to compete twice. You're kind of at the point now where, you're an old man at a young age.
Yep. Facts. I'm old now.
Yeah. So, how do you deal through that? And what got you through that?
A couple different things. I find that when you're passionate about something, if you can take that same passion and apply it to something else, then it helps. And so, because I had all that track and field experience, and I moved out here to Gilbert. I moved to Gilbert in September of 2004.
Okay.
And so I ran a little bit more, ran another race, and then, I was done in 2005. So I was like, dude, I'm done in 2005. But there was and I don't remember his name, but he was friends with somebody from church, and he said, hey, I heard you got quite the pedigree with track and field. He's, we would sure be fortunate enough to have somebody like you on our coaching staff. This was Higley High School. And I said, well, I've never coached other people like that. I've helped. I've been in charge of, running drills and being line leaders and things like that, but never where I like creating a program for a bunch of other kids. I had gotten to a point where I could, understand my own training programming and with all the years and all the coaches I had to understand what was needed to be done. And so I got to do that, and it was awesome. It was really awesome. There was one young man, Dimitri, it was his senior year, helped him become the long jump state champion. And it was just really awesome. Just being able to give to somebody who really wanted it. He was super passionate about it. And there were all these different kids on this team, boys and girls, that were like, man, qualify for the Olympic trials, you qualified, this, and that. And anything I said, they were all about it. It was like, hey, I'll take everything you got. And there was another kid. So it was Dimitri was one kid. The other kid that was super influential was Tristan DaCosta. And he was, man, this kid had such heart. Tristan was like maybe 5'7", 5'8", like 115 pounds. But this kid, Jan, he had a motor on and he worked. Like this kid worked. And he worked to such a degree because he got so confident that he had socks that had the little Superman cape on the back of them. And I love this swag about Tristan. And, and he ended up going to college for track and field and things like that. So that's what did it for me, was being able to coach other kids, being able just to see them just light up from that.
Yeah.
And that helped me. And then, and at that time I got married and, my family. And so now, like, I get a chance to coach my own kids. And so then at that point, it kind of just didn't become about me. It was, hey, now it's how can I help other people who want it like I wanted it?
Yeah.
And so, so that's kind of, at least for me, being able to, because, like I told you, Miss Allen was that for me, Mr. Warwick was that for me, and being able to now be on the other end where it's, well, I have knowledge and I want to give it, and here's people that want that knowledge because they also want to be the best version of themselves on the track.
Yeah.
And then like I said, then my kids, their desires and things like that. My son with baseball, one of my daughters would swim and dive. Another daughter was, basketball. Another one was swim and dive. And then, just all these different kids in my life. One of my daughters, which, if she listens to this, she'll be like, you shouldn't have said that. But, if it hadn't been for injuries, I think she could have done something pretty unique. But she was kind of like, she broke her arm in soccer. And then at that point, kind of decided she wanted to be a student. But to this point, she's told us, she's like, you should have just made me. And I'm like, well, I always want it to be your choice.
Yeah.
Because if I make you, because I had already coached kids and saw that where parents made them, and it just never works.
Yeah.
It never works.
Yep.
It works for a little bit until it blows up. It just never works.
Yeah. And that's tough. It's funny because I think the same thing. Like, had I played football in college versus wrestling, and I wrestled, I was offered to play football, turned it down because the school was too far away, and I felt like I'd never be able to get home, and my parents would never be able to see me play. And so I ended up walking on and wrestling, and it was good. But I always think, why didn't my dad, who was a teacher and a coach, and he was football coach and baseball coach and all those things growing up, why didn't he say, no, you're good enough, go do this? I think the same thing. Now looking back, I think, I feel like he maybe felt like I needed to chart my own path, or make the decision myself. So, but sometimes I feel 7 kids.
Yes.
Right? 1 boy, 6
One
girls?
boy, yep. The oldest is a boy, that's Dallin, and then after that it's just 6 girls. Corbin, Jamaica, McKinley, McCall, Jicey, and Bray.
Wow. That's awesome. And the youngest
is 11.
11, okay. So you're
11. So I got a 6th grader right now and a freshman at Perry High School.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. No grandkids yet, right?
2.
Oh, really?
2.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I have a 3-year-old granddaughter, Hallie, and then I have a 1-year-old, oh my gosh, I just blanked on his name.
Oh my God. We'll have to edit this out.
Talon.
I was just saying, the more you think about it, the further away it gets.
Talon Jace. So a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Wow. That's awesome. They live local here? Or?
You know what? So I have my daughter, Jamaica, and her husband, Dart. They live out here.
Okay.
And then I have 3 married ones, and the grandkids, they're all in Utah.
Okay.
And then I have one, my other married daughter and her husband, they're out in Florida.
Oh, okay. Okay. Very cool. And let's talk about the gym, TI Fitness.
Love to.
Which I partake in, and I love it. But how did that come about? And TI, does it actually mean anything?
You know,
where did that name come from?
Okay, so let's start with the name. So TI doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
It's my wife. We were just driving. We talked about it. I said, hey, what if we call it TI? What's TI stand for? Nothing. Let's just go with it. And then from there, I had this Lifetime Fitness bag. Mm-hmm. And so I edited out the life part and then the ME part. And then on the bag, just said TI Fitness. So I was like, oh, sweet. So I'm like, okay, I get to call it TI Fitness. And I have these bags because I used to work for Lifetime Fitness. Okay. I'm like, sweet. So I get to rock these bags, repping my brand, and didn't have to spend any money on it.
Huh. That's funny. That's awesome.
Yeah. So what got us to where we were was, like I said, I worked for Lifetime for about 5 years. Mm-hmm. And then from there, they let me go. And then I went and worked for Pure Fitness, and they had a bunch of facilities all around the valley. And then we just got to crossroads. We just got to these crosshairs where it's different than the way they saw it. Mm-hmm. And basically was like, Terrance, if you don't like the way we do things here, you don't have to be here. Mm. So, you're damn right. I absolutely don't.
Yeah.
And then after that, I talked with the wife, Mm-hmm. I got her blessing, her support, and she was like, let's do it.
Nice.
And then that's it. And I just started Craigslist, buying up a bunch of equipment, and then next thing I was like, okay, sweet. I haven't been a trainer for a while because when I was at Pure, I was just managing. I was like, okay. I said, well, I don't want to take any past clients because I was like, for me, I was like, dude, that was Lifetime. That was Pure. Dude, I don't want no one saying I did it my way.
Yeah.
Everything from scratch. So I just throw it out there to people I knew. I was like, hey, if you know anybody who's looking for training, let them know that I'm training again. Mm-hmm. And then, boom, I got, Tessa and Jamie, Jeff Gritzmacher. Those were, and then Jeff brought over some people too, Jason, and it literally started with just 3. And then my mother-in-law let me train her. And then, next thing you know, I was training people out of this portion of my house. And I think I had, 20, 30 people. And then it got to a point where, and I did it the right way. I got a business license through the town of Gilbert, had my address. My neighbor didn't like that the cul-de-sac was filled early in the morning. So, I wish he would have just came and told me.
Yeah.
Versus contacting Gilbert PD. Gilbert PD comes over and says, hey, blah, blah, blah. I was like, hey, you mind sharing who it was? He's like, I can't share who it was, but just want to let you know. I was like, okay. And at that point I was mad, but I was like, you know what? Let me take some ownership on it. Maybe she didn't feel I was approachable.
Yeah.
So maybe I did something in the past that made her not feel I was approachable. I had a good relationship with her husband. He didn't even know his wife did it.
Oh, wow.
Till we were talking, I was like, yeah, man, someone called Gilbert PD, and he was like, man, I can't believe someone didn't have the nerve to come talk to you. I was like, maybe they didn't feel I was approachable. Mm-hmm. So then I went and found my first brick and mortar on Lindsay and Warner, and I was there for a year, and I had 0 business experience. I knew how to manage personal trainers. I knew how to, do payroll, and I knew how to train, and I knew how to present training to people. That's what I knew. And so when Pure Fitness shut their doors, several trainers that used to work for me asked if they could come work for my gym. I said yes. And I was like, okay. I was like, let me just pay them how I was paying them when I was there. Mm-hmm. That was my thought process. And then it got to a point where there were so many of them, and we were only in a 2,400 square foot space. I was like, oh, that's not enough space. I'm like, we're on top of each other. I'm like, okay, you know what? Oh, great idea. I'm going to go get double the space, and we'll make double the money.
Oh,
That was
doesn't always work that way.
that was 100% my thought process.
Yeah.
I gave it, some people, the people that are like, okay, let me think, let me plan it out, let me orchestrate it, and then a year. That's not me. I'm like, you know what? That's a good idea. And now. And so I went from Lindsay Warner to Greenfield and Warner and grabbed a 4,800 square foot space, and that did me in. And that's when I started learning business.
Yeah.
I started learning payroll. I started learning, understanding, your basically your overhead. Because the place I was in, the rent was so low, and I didn't even realize at the time, but my power bill was so minor. And at that time, like I said, I had trainers in there. I had a massage therapist in there. So when I went to the other spot, I was like, okay, sweet. I had a few more trainers, a couple more massage therapists. I had an admin in the first one, or a front desk person. Now I had another front desk person, and I had more space. But like I said, these are just things I didn't understand. And then all of a sudden, it was like month after month, year after year. I'm like, wow, okay, I'm depleting all of my savings, my personal savings. On paper, it looks like we're doing good until my wife, Honey, who was running all the books, we're not doing good. We're red month after month after month after month. And then finally I started going, okay, you know what? One of the trainers that was working for me was like, hey, Terrance, I see you working so hard and I don't know how the business is doing. Because I never wanted to be the employer. I said, no matter what, I will always make sure everybody got paid. That was something I knew right away that I had heard from clients that I trained where they're like, yeah, I worked for this company. They held my checks. They this and that. So I was like, okay, you got to always pay your people. That's not their fault. So I always made sure they were paid first, even if it was to my detriment. And some of that detriment was, like I said, not paying myself, my family having to go through harder stuff, going back to my landlord and telling them, hey, I got to give you a partial rent this month. I'm like, but I'm going to get caught up, and them saying, okay, understood. SRP always got paid. So SRP always got their money because that was on automatic.
Yeah.
Everybody on my staff always got paid. And then the people that, didn't always get what they were supposed to was me and my landlord of that space. And so one of my trainers, Paige Fleischman, awesome girl, she suggested getting a business coach. And I had gotten coaches before, but most of the time they were always just on trying to tell me how to make more money. And I'm like, the making isn't the problem. I'm not running a business properly. I need to learn how to run a business. I'm reading this book, trying to read that book. These things just aren't making sense. So then I went to, it's called Net Profit Explosion. And I definitely learned some things. But I also learned that at that time, they weren't fully telling you how to run a business either. They were telling you how to make more, how to, try to find ways to not pay your staff. So basically, shrinkage on your payroll. Yeah. And, and that cost me because I lost some trainers on that one when I'm like, hey, I got to pay a little less. And, and then we moved. So I broke that lease because I realized, like, this is just going bad. I'm further and further behind on owing them money. Yeah. This is just not going anywhere. They were gracious enough to settle with me without lawyers. I at least had some sense where I was like, hey, look, I know I'm not honoring my lease. I know I'm asking to break my lease, and I know I owe you money. Here's also what I know. I know if you get lawyers, that's going to cost you a lot of money that you're never going to see. Yeah. So can we just agree to a number, and I don't know how long it's going to take me, but I will work to get that back to you. If it takes 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever it takes, I'll work to get that back to you. Yeah. So we got to a number. I was like, okay, I'm still paying on it now, but it's almost paid off. So it was really awesome on their part. Yeah. And so then I moved in the space that we're in now. Okay. And that landlord, I actually learned a lot from that landlord. They owned AZ Mattress, and Greg Lee was his name. Still alive. I still talk to him from here and there. And he was very transparent on just, I'd ask him questions. I'm like, hey, so you got this mattress store, you got this mattress store, you got this mattress, and now you just bought your own first building. Walk me through that. Mm-hmm. And so he started walking me through that. And then that's when, and I think about that time, that's when I did Gilbert Leadership. And then that's when I started meeting more business owners like Andrew John. And just, that's when I started realizing, dude, like networking can grow your financial stuff, but it can also help you learn how to be better at what you don't know and what you need to be aware of. Yeah. And so that's kind of what got me, that's kind of what got me to where I'm at now, where I'm grateful for all this mentorship I've gotten from all these different people in all these different industries. And so that's kind of how TI has kind of come to be. And, this December will be 16 years. So, we've gone through the lows, the highs, still go through the lows and the highs. COVID was a real special time.
Oh, sure.
It was a very special time. But so I don't know if that fully answers the question.
No, I think it does. With regards to, because I see everybody from what I would consider younger kids all the way through some geriatrics.
Yes. Nothing personal, Eric.
Yeah. You still work with student athletes? Are you still coaching? Or are you not coaching?
So I'm not coaching in that degree anymore, only because my girls have gotten so active and so busy with their stuff. So if anything, I do more on the volunteer end, where I'm volunteering to help with whatever their basketball coaches need. Mm-hmm. And when they do track stuff, I volunteer on that end as well. But I do get a chance to work with student athletes, and they're fun. Mm-hmm. They're, that's kind of where I just came from before I got here.
Gotcha. Okay. Where do you go from here? What's next?
So at this point now, and it's interesting you asked me that, because now at this point, I never thought of, what retirement or what's it look like, or me doing less. And I know there's some people that they want to get to the point where they just own and they don't do any of the hands-on stuff. Well, that's not me. Mm-hmm. I want to own. I still want to be very hands-on. So at this point for me now, it's just a matter of discovering what's going to be the best for the gym and the community. Is it, is the next step, for me to buy a building and offer more? Is it best for me to stay where I'm at and just offer more in a different way? So that's kind of where I'm at now, where I'm learning how to operate a business. Mm-hmm. I'm learning how to make sure that my employees feel, that I'm grateful for them, that they feel wanted and valued, and then I'm helping them grow in the avenues they want to, whether that's personal training or another different avenue, and then making sure that all of our clients understand that, I want them to have the best that I can possibly offer them. And if that's equipment or changing how we do things, that's kind of where I'm at. That's kind of what's next for me, is just, let me just keep growing how we do it, because I still feel like there's a wrong way to fitness. And I still feel like there's still too much of that out there, because there's lack of knowledge, or either that or lack of understanding that there are no shortcuts to your health. Yeah. It is a understanding of where you are today. Mm-hmm. And you may not know exactly what it looks like to where you want to be, but understanding that these are the steps that you want to take, and these steps will get you closer to what you want, versus trying to take this shortcut of a pill or this shot or this surgery, because it doesn't fix. It gives you a quick fix, but it's not a long-term solution.
Yeah, makes sense. Really quick, walk me through what a typical day for you looks like. How early do you truly wake up?
I wake up at 4 a.m.
Really? Okay.
I wake up at 4 a.m. Sometimes I wake up before that alarm, and I'm up at 3:50. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the alarm went off. This is more of a rarity, where my alarm went off and I didn't get up till 4:05. But I'll wake up at 4 a.m., get up, stretch.
I've heard rumor that you stretch in the closet.
I do. I stretch in my closet. So I got, we got his and her side of a closet. And, she says I got the bigger side, but whatever,
You're bigger.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bigger person, I feel like it's just deserving, plus I'm stretching the closet. She would have never done that. She'd have just put more crap on the floor.
We didn't hear that.
So I'll stretch in my closet, I'll foam roll, I'll say a prayer, I'll read scriptures, and then brush my teeth, get everything ready. My wife has instituted this, and I look forward to it now. At first, it used to annoy me with this, but because I felt like I wasn't being, I felt like it was disturbing her sleep. But then after I do that, I'll give her a kiss on the forehead. She's knocked out, passed out, but she said she knows I did it. So I'm like, okay. Give her a kiss on the forehead. Then I'll head to the garage. I'll grab my pre-made meals. I'll grab my sparkling water. I really like sparkling water. I'll grab my prepackaged nuts, my yogurt.
Sorry,
I know.
That didn't sound right.
I mean, it's kind of loaded. Hey, you know what?
Wow.
Those are prepackaged too, though. So I grab that, all that stuff, put all that stuff in the backpack, get in the truck, drive to the gym. I'm at the gym somewhere between 4:40 and 4:45 a.m. And then, I play this thing, so I'll sit in the parking lot, and now you'll know this moving forward. I sit in the parking lot, and for me, it's I want to keep my mind sharp. So I look at every workout that I have to train or administer for the next 5-6 hours. I look at all of them, and I try to memorize all of them. And then I try to not look at it again.
Wow.
Unless I get to a point that's stuck.
Yeah.
And then I'll just start going through it. And then if I do get stuck, I give myself a second. Everybody knows it now. So everybody knows, okay, I'll sit here and be like, okay, hold on. Eyes in the back of my head. I'm looking for it, looking for the file. And then 97% of the time, I'm good and I don't have to pull the phone back out to look at it. Other times, it's like, I'm not sure. Let me go look.
Yeah.
And then, I'll train till, usually about 10 or 11. So I'll train from 5 to 10 or 11, and then I'll take a moment, do anything on our social media stuff that I need to do. Then I'll train some more till about 1 o'clock. And in between this stuff also I'm eating too, so you've seen me eat. So I'll eat at 5 and 7, 8 and 10, and 1 and 3. And then I'll eat usually when I get home. So after that last appointment at 1 o'clock, then I'm usually doing something else, a little bit more work. And then I'll train myself from 1:30 to anywhere from 1:15 to 3 o'clock. And then if I have any more training, I'll do that. And then after that, I'm off to my girls' practices, helping out with those coaches. Like I said, I'll help them with their workouts, their training. And then I've really worked hard to get to this point now where when I get home, I'm disengaging. I'm putting the phone away, getting off the watch, and just giving my undivided attention to everyone at home.
Gotcha.
And then, that's Monday through Thursday. Friday is a fun day because I actually get to take my girls to school. So
Nice.
I take my girls to school. I'll work out with my wife. And then from there, we'll go do stuff out in the community, whether I've got some events set up, some meetings, things for work, things like that. We'll go do all that till it comes time to pick the girls back up for school. And then Saturday is if they've got basketball or they've got track meets, it's all day stuff like that, or anything we're doing for work. And then Sunday is church, and rinse and repeat. Go back at it. So
nice. Well, cool. Well, I mean, I've respected. Is that right? I've appreciated the opportunity to watch you over the last several years. I mean, obviously, it worked out for a while, and then I disappeared through the whole COVID.
Hey, you had to do it.
Came back, and I appreciate the workouts. If anybody's interested, TI Fitness on Val Vista and Elliott. I almost said Warner.
Northeast corner.
Yeah. By what's the coffee shop there? Rush
Coffee Rush.
Coffee Rush. There you go. So yeah, well, I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time to share a little bit about yourself. Hopefully, it was beneficial for you just to come out
You
and
know
talk?
what? It was awesome. You know what I mean? Like I said, I love being able to hear some things about you that I didn't know, man. Like that explains a lot of your tenacity. I think of a few people, like I feel like, because you don't have the cauliflower ear, I feel like if a few people knew that a little bit more about the wrestling, I'd back off a little bit.
I do have this one. It was actually scraped, so it still has some scar tissue there, and a little bit of buildup. But yeah, I had pretty bad cauliflower ear at one point, but not, like you look at some of those guys, it's just like really bad. Yeah. I was always pretty good about wearing headgear most of the time. So, most of the time.
It was awesome to be on here. I appreciate you taking the time and allowing me an opportunity to be here.
Well, thank you very much. Everybody that comes on the podcast gets a gift. I just am unprepared to give you yours today, so I will end up bringing it to the gym. But I've got some custom-made tumblers, and whether you use it for orange juice or milk or whatever you choose to put in there, you will get a custom-made tumbler. Probably in the next couple of weeks, I'll bring it out to you. So,
that'd be awesome. I'll definitely rep the brand.
Awesome. Well, I greatly appreciate it. I appreciate you being on, and everybody out there, like, share, and subscribe. We'd greatly appreciate the love there too. So,
I am Terrance Johnson, and I went above and beyond.
Real deals, authentic connections, the kind that heals from Palm Springs to Pine Top Grace. APN's network spans every place. Above Par Network, we're going above and beyond, reaching new heights. In networking realms, scaling the heights. From mixers to golf, our spirits unite. APN's the beacon, our guiding light. So here's to APN, where dreams align. In every connection, a chance to shine. Above and beyond, we'll always strive. In APN's network, we truly thrive.
Like, share, and subscribe to Above and Beyond, where excellence meets elevation. Elevate your mindset, one episode at a time.